Recording. Okay. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Umineko Monday.
Monday.
Last week we were joined by our good friend Gulliver, who really didn't make an appearance, but was there for moral support. What's it called? Maria was acting all strange. To be honest, I think part of me thinks she's possessed by Beatrice, but also she's just so into witches that it's like I wouldn't be surprised if that's just Maria. But we are on to the next thing of Umineko. So let's go. Will we have an episode where Rudolph fails to show up? Who knows? Let's see. It's currently going on 6 with Rudolph, so let's start a no Rudolph chain, please.
Let's make it 100.
Let's not. Lunch ended and the servants removed the tableware and went to the kitchen. Oh, maybe Kumasawa's going to be in this scene.
Oh,
the
yeah.
wind and rain neither weakened nor strengthened, and the island remained cut off from the outside world. At first, it seemed as though Natsu planned to stop anyone from taking a step outside the room. But when it came to prepare lunch, she finally realized this would be impossible. However, in order to avoid having anyone alone in the kitchen, she told the 3 servants to go together. Because of that, the servants were the first ones given the right to leave the stuffy parlour, which had been packed with 11 people. Oh right, Kinzo was also missing. Since breakfast had immediately followed that terrible incident, preventing most of us from eating much, everyone tore into their lunches in silence.
Oh, I've got the first line of the day, yay!
Yeah.
I will wash the dishes, so you can take a rest while Kanon-kun, Genji-san. Do you want something to drink?
I don't need anything. Kanon? I don't need anything either.
You two must have been so busy, so early in the morning. No wonder you're worn out.
The only noise was that of Kumasawa washing the dishes, which resounded throughout the kitchen. I don't think you could hear it over the rain. Genji and Kanon sat in some chairs a short distance away, their eyes lightly closed. Just as Kumasawa had said, those two had probably built up a great deal of fatigue. But that didn't mean they could let it show in front of the relatives. Avoiding that was one of their virtues. After the silence had continued for some time, Kanon opened his mouth and muttered, "Shannon, why did she have to die in such a horrible way? Forget about the manner of her death. It was nothing more than bad luck." "You're right. It was nothing more than bad luck." They both fell silent once again. Kanon's expression was filled with grief. To think that Shannon-chan's actually dead. I still can't believe it. Poor thing. Not being able to see her again feels like a lie. I just want to see her smiling face one more time. Oh, that was good!
Oh, you bitch stealing my line!
Do you think I knew it was Kumasawa?
I didn't know either!
Go on.
It just changed. I think that Shadow-chan's actually dead. I still can't believe it, the poor thing. Not being able to see her again feels like a lie. I just wanted to see her smiling face one more time.
Kumasawa spoke with her back facing them. After all, Kumasawa-san hadn't seen Shannon's corpse, so she had no trouble mentioning Shannon's face. When Kanon heard these words, it reminded him again of how only half of Shannon's face had been left, and his grieving expression twisted even further. Why did Beatrice-sama do that to Shannon? If she wanted to sacrifice, there were plenty of others to choose from. Why? Why? It was nothing more than bad luck. If we were less lucky, you or I might have been lying out there instead of Shannon. Or it could have been someone else entirely. Everything is left to fate. Genji-sama, you said the door to Madame's room was stained with traces of something like blood, right? The same substance that was painted on the shutter? Indeed. It was an unsettling mark. Almost as if someone with blood-stained fingers had been trying to pull the doorknob. No scratch through the door. That sort of unpleasant mark. Does that mean Beatrice someone came to visit Madame's room and tried to open the door, but couldn't? Genji thought back to the time he had seen those traces of blood on the door to Natsuhi's room. With the substance sticking to the door around the doorknob, the marks of something scratching against the door, it had definitely appeared as though someone had tried to open the door but couldn't. How did the Madame avoid being chosen as a sacrifice? Jessica, that's why. If only she'd been chosen, Shannon wouldn't have had to die. Just then, a loud, sharp noise came from the hall. Both of them turned around in surprise. That's pretty interesting chat you're having there. Let me join in too. Before any of the servants realized, Battler was standing in the doorway to the kitchen. Battler-sama. How rude of us. Genji and Kanon stood up, surprised, and hastily bowed. But I didn't care about that stuff. I was more concerned with continuing the discussion. I told them I was going to the bathroom, so they let me go. I thought I'd suffocate if I was locked up in that room any longer. I was about to come ask you guys for some water, but then I overheard something pretty interesting. You don't need to bow your heads or anything. Please, let me hear the rest. That just now wasn't really... I've been listening to you for a while. Don't try to hide it now. So, I'll ask directly. Who is this Beatrice? She's supposed to be a witch from a kid's story, but it doesn't look that way now. Kanon averted his gaze. It was obvious that he didn't want to talk about this, which only made me want to ask even more. While making an effort to smile, I grabbed the collar of his shirt. Last night, this would have been none of my business. But after this morning, everything's changed. Now that Dad and the rest have been killed, this is totally my business. I have the right to listen to this suspicious story, don't I? I glared into Kanon's eyes as he continued to avert his gaze in apparent pain. Since there was a big difference in our heights, Kanon had to stand on his toes, and it looked like it hurt a bit.
Valafon!
Are you eating?
Hold on. Let go of him. Kanon said, isn't really hiding anything.
Then you would have a problem talking about it, right? It's lonely being out of the loop, you know. When I tried to further twist up his collar, Genji-san cut between us and spoke. In his expression were faint traces that he'd made up his mind to do something. Apparently, he had no intention of hiding it. I can tell you about it. Kanon only hesitated because you might have taken it badly, Battler-sama. Hesitating? Huh. Not very manly of you. Whatever it is you're talking about, it's even more unpleasant having it kept a secret. Tell me about it. It's not like we have anything better to do before tomorrow comes. A slightly spooky story might be the best way to avoid getting bored. Genji and Kanon-kun looked at each other, then nodded as though they decided to talk. Understood. Please, ask us anything. We will talk. Right. Then I'll ask. Who in the world is Beatrice? All I know is that she's a witch who lives in the forest of Rokkenjima. I've heard it's a story grandmother or someone invented to keep people out of the dangerous forest. Is that wrong? No, it isn't wrong. It's as you say. Beatrice is a witch who dwells in the forest of Rokkenjima. Battler-sama, I don't expect you to believe this all of a sudden, but Beatrice-sama exists. She's a real person who gave the master a vast amount of gold, who worked by his side for many years. Huh? Oh, come on. Is grandfather paying you to repeat everything he says? I laughed like it was a joke, but neither Genji nor Kanon laughed. Not even Kumasawa Bachan, who was avoiding my eyes, flustered as she started washing the dishes. So unfortunately, I was the only one who was laughing. Painfully, bitterly. I see. That's why Genji-san refused to mention it. If you really mean it, of course I'd take it badly. So you're saying that that person named Beatrice actually exists? Yes. She's been working for the Master since before the mansion was built on this island. She has most likely been working for him even longer than I have. What do you know? Kira-san's theory was off. Grandfather really did have a confidant called Beatrice. Is that person on this island right now? Yes. I believe that she is here. That's a vague way to say it. I guess that means you haven't seen her face today or yesterday. That is correct. It is extremely difficult to say, but, Kanokun once again dropped his gaze, avoiding my eyes. Come on now, don't just stop there. That's like freezing an inch before the blow, right? I urged him, jokingly again. However, it looks like Kanon was still confused as to whether he should speak or not. Then, Kumasawa-bachan whispered.
Hoo 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 hoo!
She whispered. She whispers screams into Kanon's ear.
You cannot see her face because Beatrice-sama has no form.
She has no... What did you say? Beatrice-sama has no body. Therefore, unless Beatrice-sama wishes it, common people like us are not able to see her form.
I have heard that the portrait shows what Beatrice-sama looked like back when she had a human form. It seems he yearned for that figure so much, he would often stand in front of the portrait. Ho ho ho!
Beatrice-sama sometimes shows herself by changing her form into glittering butterflies. On the rare occasion that you spot them somewhere in the mansion, there is a rule that you absolutely mustn't chase after them. It is whispered that you will meet with disaster if you do. In fact, there was a servant who broke that rule and quit because of a great injury. Wait a sec, are you kidding me? Are you all serious about this? Battler-sama, Beatrice-sama has already arrived. Such language may be unwise. Beatrice-sama does not like it when she is profaned. If you doubt her existence, you will surely meet it with disaster.
Battler-san! You probably think this topic is unpleasant. But you know what? Beatrice-sama does exist!
She exists. Beatrice-sama hates people who doubt that. Can't you tell, Battler-sama? Beatrice-sama has already arrived here. Come on, quit it. I'm weak against that stuff. Enough with the cheap threats. However, there were no trace of joke in the eyes of the three servants. On the surface, I laughed and tried to look unconcerned, but I was quickly starting to sober up. Their eyes were also sobering up fast.
Battler-san, I beg you to stop profaning Beatrice-sama. Please trust me.
Kumasawa-bachan, who was usually cheerful, would always tease people, now spoke with a totally serious face. Well, even if you say she exists, I don't see anything. Are you trying to say she's standing right next to me or something? Quit joking around.
Oh, there's a really cool panel in the manga.
Just then, that unnerving laugh suddenly filled the kitchen. Oh my god, was I right? And Maria is possessed by Beatrice right now.
I don't know.
When I turned around, Maria was standing there by the entrance. But her expression and feeling about her presence felt exactly the same as the servants. Oh, her eyes got wider. Whether your wavelength matches or not, it's determined at birth. Battler, you were born with a mismatched wavelength. That's why you can't see her. That's why you can't meet with her. And that's why you can't talk to her.
She was British.
Sometimes she's American, sometimes she's British. You're the type. Huh?
She's truly autistic if she's changing her accent depending on her mood.
You're the type Beatrice hates the most. Maria laughed like it was funny, but it sounded extremely eerie. It was almost like she was laughing at me because I alone didn't understand. Do you want to know about Beatrice? Beatrice is a 1,000-year-old witch. With all the demons at her command, she can harness the power of alchemy to create the Philosopher's Stone and a vast quantity of gold. Grandfather built up all the vast wealth of the Shiramia family by making a contract with her. Yesterday, I read Beatrice's letter. Didn't I? That was real. Well, I guess it's pointless for me to try and force you to believe. After all, it looks like you were born without a trace of the sixth sense. What are you talking about? Witches? Demons? Who told you about that? I heard it from Beatrice herself. What happened to the uwu? Maria kept doing that unpleasant laugh. However, the servants who watched over this didn't even blink. She heard it from that witch in the portrait adorning the entrance hall. Maria kept on laughing in a weird voice, though this was nothing more or less than the truth. Maria, it might be rude to ask, but I'll ask one more time, okay? Who gave you that letter yesterday? I got it from Beatrice. How many times do I have to tell you before you understand? You don't get it, do you? You can't see it. You can't believe it, can you? Just then, Maria's laughter suddenly stopped. Battler, you still don't understand? Beatrice Summer exists. She exists, you say, but where? Like I said, Beatrice Summer exists here. That's right.
That's right! Oh, sorry, I thought everyone was saying that at the same time.
Sorry, just that's right!
Sorry. I thought they were all saying that.
No. Now that I think about it, I've been feeling for a while now that the servants' eyes haven't been pointed in quite the right direction. I figured they were staring absentmindedly, but that wasn't the case. Four here, Genji, Kanon, Kumasawa-san, and Maria, everyone except me, was looking at a spot right behind me. Holding my breath tightly, I slowly looked over my shoulder. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I've known that the whole time. However, everyone in the room, except for me, was focusing on that point as if there was someone there. Beatrice is the mighty golden witch who has lived for 1,000 years. But since she can't show her form to humans of the wrong wavelength, she can't talk to them. And you know what? That's really sad. It means she truly despises it when people like you, who were born without a fragment of the ability, needs to sense magic, denies that it exists. You're lucky, Battler. Good thing I gave you that charm yesterday, right? Don't you realize what kind of curse Beatrice would have put on you by now if you hadn't been carrying it around? You're really lucky, Battler. Oh, that scorpion keychain? I thought that was some cheap gift or something, but are you saying it really had some power? If it weren't for that, you'd be lying in that storehouse as a sacrifice with your face crushed by now. Hee. You're so lucky, Battler. Hee. I see. So, if it weren't for that, I'd have been killed by now. Battler, why don't you believe in Beatrice? Even though she exists. Right now. Over there. Look. Hee. Hey, I'll bet you want to believe it too. Believe it now. Believe it. And thank me for giving you that charm. If it weren't for that, you'd be in the storehouse right now. But then, maybe you would have saved someone else in exchange. Right? Hee. Right then, I burst into laughter. Playing witches has been pretty fun up until a second ago, but unfortunately, that last one seemed to be too much for me to gloss over. Ha! Then it's all useless, isn't it, Maria? If that's true, then I'm sorry, but it's all useless. When Maria saw me suddenly laughing, she stopped. Even though she didn't understand what I was laughing at, she realized it wouldn't be pleasant for her. I thought it might hurt you, so I didn't say it earlier, but, well, I put that charm you gave me in my pocket, but I must have dropped it somewhere. So the charm can't be the only reason I'm alive now. And even though I should have been cursed by that witch, I'm perfectly fine. I'm sorry. I don't believe in things that I don't see with my own eyes. 6 senses? Wavelengths? Magic sensitivity? Sorry, but I don't believe in your fake stuff like that. When I hear the girls in class start talking about how good or bad their ability to sense the supernatural is, it pisses me off. This is a 9-year-old.
Yeah, so...
I don't know how much grandfather is paying you, but if you talk to me like I'm joining into some cult, believe me, you won't do it that easily. Butler Summer. You guys are free to believe whatever you want. However, when it comes to the things I believe in, the one who decides is always me. Sorry, but I can't believe in something as shady as Beatrice until I've seen her with my own eyes. I spoke forcefully and sharply. Then, Maria started cackling again. Well, that's just fine, isn't it? Eventually, people like you, with totally mismatched wavelengths, will be able to see Beatrice. Very soon, she will revive. Beatrice will revive. Once that happens, she promised to talk with me and play with me a lot. There'll be absolutely no need for you to doubt or for us to force you to believe. She will appear very soon. Now I get to have my medications.
Also, by the way, that's where the first half of the first episode of the manga ends. So that was a whole omnibus worth of manga pages that we've been through in these however many episodes.
This is the sixth one.
6th episode.
So about 12 hours of game.
Yeah. To like one 400-page book.
Mm-hmm.
Full of comics. And that's how the pacing goes.
Crazy. My current thought process, right, is like how and I'm basing this off of the anime. The first like arc of Higurashi, when
4 episodes long.
Well, yeah, the first arc of Higurashi where Keiichi goes insane. I have a feeling this will be similar. Not so much Battler going insane, but him being like unbelieving, you know? And then like the next couple of episodes he'll actually like believe in Beatrice and shit, you know? That's my thought process.
Yeah?
So that's cuz like he's suddenly very hard-headed against Maria. Like, yes, he didn't necessarily believe in Beatrice in the first place, but like him being this hard-headed against Maria seems a bit weird to me. Then again, his parents did just fucking die for the second time. Double orphan and such.
Double orphan.
After a meal, some people tend to head to the bathroom while others prefer to relax for a bit. It seems that several people had left the parlour just like I did, when I went to the kitchen to drink some water. In the end, Aunt Nutsy reluctantly retracted her order that everyone remain packed in the parlour, on the condition that no one headed out on their own or strayed too far. In any case, if 11 people are shut up in the same room starting early in the morning, the air will start to stagnate. Also, quite some time had passed, so everyone was starting to recover from the shock of that morning, and the sense of danger might have been weakening too. However, it was a certain fact that 6 people had been killed inside this mansion, so no one was completely negligent. So whenever they went out into the hallway for a breath of fresh air, trying to act tough, they would quickly get scared of standing there, isolated, and would eventually return to the parlour. I guess it's like the north wind and the sun. If you force someone to stay shut in, they'll resist, but if you tell them to do whatever they want, they'll come back obediently. People really do not like doing what they're told. When the servants finished cleaning up from the meal, they returned obediently to the parlour just as Aunt Nutsy had told them to, and sat on the sofa near the entrance, patiently awaiting orders. Maria, almost as though she'd suddenly finished playing witches, had returned to the pure Maria I knew, as well as saying ubu. What in the world happened back there? I hadn't even felt an atom of the presence of this person called Beatrice, who was supposedly standing behind me, invisible. However, it felt like I'd glimpsed a little of that presence inside Maria. You're right. When Maria starts talking about witches, her personality changes. Battlecurn. Oh my god. I'm Jennifer Coolidge. Battlecurn. You also saw her down by the beach yesterday, right? God. That Scorpion keychain? No, I mean, like, when her feelings were hurt, I'm talking about her having a dual personality or something. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. That thing Maria did when she was talking about that magic circle does happen every now and then. It's freaky though. Apparently Jess had spotted that Kihihi Maria a few times. I just happened to catch it at a bad moment and was pretty freaked out seeing it for the first time. So what is that? Okay? I can't get over Georgifer Coolidge.
That's the next thumbnail.
Does Maria have a dual personality or something? Are you saying that her spiritual sense is really strong, or she's being possessed by a spirit or whatever? No, I don't think it's that.
Rudolph dies.
So Jennifer Coolidge can come join the party. Oh,
this
shit.
is what happens when Rudolph dies.
Yeah, I need a new punching bag.
Haven't you ever
experienced it? Where you were small, didn't you ever want someone other than yourself? God, I want a hot dog. Oh, Georgifer Coolidge. When humans are born, no one has any individuality. However, when they reach their growth period, the sense of self starts to be born. They want to be different from other people, but since everyone else in their class is learning the same things at the same rate and being forced into the same lifestyle, of course they aren't going to find anything that makes them different from anyone else around them. Once they realize, the first thing they do is to start breaking the rules in what's called their rebellious stage. Since everyone follows the rules, they want to show off their individuality by breaking them. So, even those who act tough, mocking everyone around them and calling them childish, can actually be viewed as cute kids searching for themselves if you look at it
You're
this way.
still laughing?
Yeah! Well, I'm lecturing about this like I'm so smart, but I actually got this secondhand from George Anarchy. If I myself was one of those embarrassing guys who thought it was cool to act like a little bastard, well, that was when I was the age when you try to show off to the opposite sex. The main feature of the growing period lies in the impulse of fuck. I'm going into Owen Wilson to break away. Ka-chow! To break away from your life as a kid, like a little chick that's trying to crack open the shell of their egg. Do you know what makes a child and adults different? Age? Or do you mean size? No. It's experience. Adults can look down on children because children have a very little life experience. The reason they snort at everything a child says is because they think kids know nothing about the real world. Yeah, I understand that. When you're a kid, you talk like you've got it all figured out, somehow trying to act like an adult. No matter what kids say, adults just like snort at them and they're too naive that they'll understand when they'll get older or something. Older. Well, it's like probably true, but to a kid, it's just annoying, like they're being looked down upon. I get it. It's a question of how knowledge and experience, well, I guess you're right to say there's no reason for there's no reason to respect a person for their age if they've just wasted their lives. Therefore, during the period when they're trying to separate themselves from other children, they also try to take on the personality traits from those around them. Excuse me. Let me just
original images.
No. I'm trying to screenshot this singular moment. Anyway. Let me just there we go, for future reference. But they also try to take on the personality traits from those around them. And if knowledge and experience is what separates kids and adults, I get it. If they know something no one else knows, it becomes a part of their identity. You know, when I was in elementary school, I learned things no one else knew. Get things that no one else had. Wear things that no one else wore. And I became a bit of a hero for it. I'll bet you've done the same thing, Battler. Yeah. There was definitely an age when I just wanted to excel in some skill or another. I see, so that's because I was trying to separate myself from being a child? Or going through my growing period, in other words. If you put on a positive spin of it, the growing period forces you to separate yourself from the others, thereby pushing yourself to gain skills and knowledge no one else has. Oh, whoa, don't do that. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I just...
Yeah, don't do that, George. Stop.
Stop your behavior immediately.
You know what's bad?
What?
Is that I have a classmate from primary school, 23, and he's dating a fresh 18-year-old at the moment.
Ugh.
Like that feels wrong, but
Yeah.
that doesn't pale in not as bad as George with 16-year-old Shannon.
Yeah. Still icky.
Ugh.
Thereby, no one else has. This is also an interesting from a sociological standpoint, because people hate being like everyone else. They try and learn skills other people don't know. In this way, society can acquire the broad range of skills it needs to survive. The quality of the gods' programming is truly surprising. I don't know what's happening to Georgifer Coolidge there. Well, unique personality traits can also be negative, right? Also, if anyone's wondering what that clacking is, I stole a pencil from the voting things in Australia, and now I'm just clacking that pencil against the thing.
What?
I just have a pencil here and it says Victorian Electoral Commission, and I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I got this pencil.
Oh my goodness. She's stealing pencils from the government.
I think I got sent it from on my 18th birthday. They gave me like a thing.
Oh, okay.
That or I did steal it. I don't know. Well, unique personality traits can also be negative, right? Like if, say, everyone in the class was studying hard, but I was the only one slacking off, trying to stand out. Okay, that last bit was really true about me. It's only recently that I've been able to thank middle school teachers who slapped me after school. What? But, well, Jesus. But, well, I tried to jump over things no one else could. Sprint as fast as I could, trying to lap those guys with good grades. When we did a marathon, I just felt like doing it. It was in my nature that if I couldn't study well, then at least I could get back at them by exercising. I see. So I really did go through a proper growing period. I guess boys really do tend to focus more on the physical stuff. Oh, you know, girls of the same age tend to focus more on mental, spiritual things. I bet there were groups of girls in your class that got really interested in fortune telling and their spiritual senses. Yeah, there were. They'd come over asking me for my sign, my blood type, and they'd laugh like, I thought so.
Great gesture impression. That laugh.
It really got on my nerves. No matter which class you go to, girls like fortune telling. Deciding whether your spirit sense is strong or weak, whether your sensitivity is, whether you can see the unseeable, that kind of thing definitely happened to me. It just happened to you from a 9-year-old. That's because fortune telling and spiritual senses are things that aren't taught in school. To girls who tend to be more introverted, it's a genre that's easy to build an identity upon, and that one holds a lot of interest for them.
Those bloody INFPs!
Hey! What? Just like how when boys enter their growing period, they start acting tough and like rebels against adults. When girls enter their growing period, they start their growing period or getting their periods. Enter their growing periods. They start getting interested in that kind of thing. So girls like spooky shit and boys like running. That's what I'm getting from this. They're saying boys like to break the rules and run, and girls like spooky shit.
I heard you say something else. I didn't hear you say running when you said that. I heard you say something else, but okay.
What did you hear?
Rubbing?
Oh, no. Run. With an N. Running. They start getting interested in that kind of thing. Well, I didn't though. So Maria having so much interest in the occult isn't that rare among girls her age? Even if we accept that, I wonder if that explains the creepy dual personality thing. Actually, I think that probably could accept that explanation more or less. As you just said, becoming an adult means gaining knowledge and experience. So to gain that, it's necessary for children to learn all sorts of things and break free from childhood. However, there are certain convenient illusions that you often see in the world of children, both now and in the past. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You see that all the time in manga and anime, right? It's kind of like that. Like you've got memories from a previous life that start to resurface. Like you're being possessed by this... Kidding. By the soul of some great something or other. Or it could be that a sleeping gene gets awakened. Or maybe a sealed power or memory returns. There's all kinds. For some reason, stuff like that's really popular at that age. Why is that? all of those examples you've just mentioned are illusions that let children immediately add to their sum of knowledge and experience. If a 9-year-old girl says they have a 1,000-year-old witch possessing her, then she gains a 1,009-year-old identity. So basically, studying is annoying. But these delusions are convenient for people who want to brag about having a skill no one else has, amazing the people around them. So you could brag about something without having to work hard or study. I see. Isn't that a kid's greatest dream?
To be an influencer.
Yeah. Furthermore, in their desire to prepare themselves from being cats, they always project an image of their ideal self. And it's not rare for that desired self to become an alternate personality. Even you, Ballercoon, probably had a slightly different personality at home and at school, right? I'd probably be embarrassing if your friends at school saw how you were at home. At school, you were try to project yourself as much as you want to be, but at home is where your true self is. After this scene, I'm turning off Georgifer Coolidge. Holy shit, it's such a chore to speak.
Yeah, we should actually just hire Jennifer Coolidge to be George full time if we need her.
Hey, Jennifer Coolidge, can you, voice this, please? So, in other words, I'm changing my personality depending on the situation. Are you trying to say that having multiple personalities is actually really common? My water! Oh my god. Jennifer Coolidge, what should I do?
Maria would 100% be one of those kids on TikTok who fake having DID. And then they've got all their alters that are just edgy characters. Like, Maria would 100% be a Danganronpa fan.
Mm-hmm.
She would... Oh, who would she kin from Danganronpa?
I think the nurse.
I was also thinking Monica.
That's true.
Monica. She's like, my alter is Monica Toa. And I'm altering her right now. And I'm also Dream. And Koenishima.
I'm Dream and George, and they are in love and in... Actually, no. They're in love in the inner worlds.
And I'm also Dan and Phil. Yeah, I think Maria would like Dan and Phil. Oh, and one of my alters is also Mia Freesh.
She would kid Mia Freesh?
She would kid Mia Freesh.
She would kid Mia Freesh, right.
I'd be one of her alters. I'd hope so, at least.
A girl who's a fan of the occult might say she's being possessed or awakened. Honestly, there are some kids who change their personalities so much it's creepy. And some boys do it too, right? Guys who say they've blown their top and suddenly turn into this overplayed violent character. I had someone in my school who was like that. I'll bet they think it's pretty cool, but it's so painful to watch. Let's sum this all up. So you're saying that even if a girl about Maria's age shows a creepy second personality like she did a minute ago, it isn't such a rare or unusual thing. Simply put, that's right. Identity is such an important factor when building up on one's sense of self. If you make fun of it, it could actually cause children to go back into their shells. So, it's important to go along with them to some degree. Although, the broad-mindedness of their parent determines whether they play along in full or not. Are we going to ignore the fact that Maria is basically unbothered by her mother's death? Like, Aniki, I can't believe you're single. Whoa, what?
What?
Why would you say that?
Sir, I thought you realized what was going on.
Bro's
Okay,
fiance
that
just
one-
died. Doesn't
Okay,
matter
I
what
know.
we think of it. Literally, Bro's fiance just died.
I know Maria is very autistic, but that love, you know it runs in the family.
Oh, good lord, sir. Literally
Oh.
just died. Read the room. You sound like you've already raised kids through middle school. So I wonder if Aunt Rosa knew much about Maria's dual personality. She knew about it.
George doesn't even have a sad reaction to that.
No. She knew about it. Just between
Single.
us, Aunt Rosa really hated it. She said it was unpleasant and that Maria was becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of her class. So, anytime Maria was starting to talk about the occult or laughing like a witch, she'd slap her. And it looks like Maria stopped talking that way in front of her. Maybe that thing back there was just a little game from a girl facing her growing period. Just trying to show that she was different and independent by holding her interest in witches and the occult. And since she wanted to be different from herself, young as she was switching between her normal personality and the personality of her ideal witch. Oh, a witch. At first, I found that very disturbing. But after being lectured by George Anarchy, by George Anarchy, it felt like this was a path everyone walked down one time or another. I haven't told anyone, but when I was in kindergarten, I joined up with a little gang of kids trying to form an Earth Defense Force. We'd say we'd help protect peace on Earth. My face turns red when I remember how, during that time, we called battle practice, we'd chant EDF, EDF. Just like usual, Maria was relaxing, immersed in the TV, wooing and laughing like any girl her age. But on the inside, another personality that was that of her ideal witch, she respected and blindly accepted, was sleeping. But that wasn't anything extraordinary. It was perfectly natural for a girl her age. I've calmed down a little. The shock from my bizarre experience in the kitchen is just now fading away. If I hadn't talked to George Anarchy and Jessica, I might still be frightened by the idea that an invisible witch is standing right behind me. However, can I really accept that as an explanation for what happened back there? If it had just been Maria, I could have explained it as the fickle delusions of a growing girl. But Genji-san, Kanon-kun, and Kumasawa-bachan had also been there. None of them had denied what Maria had said. They silently accepted that Maria exists. Shit, oh my god, Maria is not existent this entire time.
Maria doesn't exist?
That Beatrice exists. I was starting to feel a little uneasy. Aunt Ava's position was that no 19th person existed. That the crime was an inside job tied to the family quarrels. On the other hand, Aunt Nazi's position was that the culprit was hiding somewhere outside the mansion. So she rejected the possibility of an inside job and supported the idea of the 19th person existed. In the kitchen, Maria and the servants also supported the idea of a 19th person. But according to them, this 19th person isn't human. They said it was an invisible witch carrying out some mysterious plan. Is there a 19th person or not? Is there a culprit human or a witch? For some reason, I couldn't just laugh off any of those possibilities. Not even the most ridiculous story about the witch. Jessica, all I know about the story of the witch is the adults made it to keep the kids too scared to enter the forest. But the story is different here in the mansion. I feel the same way you do, okay? I think it was just a stupid ghost story that the parents made up so the kids would follow it and listen to them. But I can't deny that atmosphere inside the mansion makes it a little hard to say out loud. Okay, I'm going back to regular George because I don't think my voice can handle Georgifer Coolidge at the moment.
Georgifer Coolidge is dead.
Yeah, sad.
Until we revive him.
After all, Grandfather has proclaimed that Beatrice exists. And because of their position, the servants can't doubt that. Even Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsuki don't want to get into a fight with him, so on the surface, they go along with it. So it's probably fair to say that doubting the existence of Beatrice is taboo to those who live and work in the mansion. Unlike the rest of us who only come here once a year. Is that right? Jessica took a deep breath in admiration. She looked like Anarchy had guessed right. It's just like you say. No one really believes it on the inside. But on the outside, they accept she exists. See, it's just like the way some people are about God. Even if they know God doesn't exist, they feel like it'd be uncouth to say that, actually said that out loud. How do you think the servants feel about it? Are they just going along with it because grandfather, their employer, say that she exists? Well, I don't really know the details, but between the servants and the story about Beatrice has been treated like a ghost story. Remember yesterday when Shannon was talking to us down by the beach? That story was how one night when she was doing the rounds in the mansion, she saw something unsettling. She did say something like that, didn't she? Back then, I thought she was being nice to Maria to help improve Maria's mood. But I felt like she was serious when she said it. That's right, she definitely said it. She definitely said the same kind of thing that Genji and the rest had all unanimously declared back in the kitchen. In addition, some servants have also seen will-o'-the-wisps, glittering butterflies dancing around. Kanako always said something like that when patrolling one night. And recently, you often hear servants talking about the strange footsteps heard inside the mansion near midnight. We've whispered together that Beatrice Summer in the portrait sometimes make herself invisible and walks through the mansion. It happened a while ago, but even I heard footsteps while patrolling at night that resemble these stories. That's right, she definitely said that. Exactly the same thing that I had just been told now. But there's nothing to be afraid of. Beatrice Summer and the other is another ruler of this mansion, separate from the master. So there's no need to be unnaturally afraid. If you respect her, I hear she won't do anything bad. However, she can be quite terrifying if you don't respect her, right? Correct. I've heard that just before I began working here. Someone who spoke badly about Beatrice Summer fell down the stairs and quit after receiving a large injury to their back. Because of that, there was a rumor between the servants that Beatrice Summer's anger had been brought down upon this person. If you don't respect her, you'll suffer the wrath and get hurt. So, to the servants, Beatrice exists is just as credible as the story. If you pull pranks on Inari-san, you'll receive the Kitsune-sama's curse. Of course, even though everyone accepts that curses and the like don't exist in the modern era, people are still afraid and still have little respect for them. You often see it when in a residential area, someone in a building, a house, and they call a Shinto priest for a ceremony to honor the god of that plot of land. You might think that was just a big waste of time and money, but it's said if the workers don't do that, a big accident will occur, so they never neglect to do it. You also hear about it, how if an Inari shrine is carelessly removed during a town replanning, there'd be a curse by Kitsune-sama. I think I might have read somewhere that when the occupying forces were trying to expand in an airport, they tried to remove an Inari-san that was in the way. And the workers kept getting struck down by mysterious fevers. Even in modern cities like Tokyo, it wasn't rare to see modern buildings packed around an old Inari shrine, leaving the shrine itself untouched. And this wasn't limited to Japan. It's probably similar to how foreigners baptize babies. If I remember right, by the Christian doctrine, if unbaptized souls have even the slightest amount of sin, they will go to hell. Putting water on the child's forehead doesn't do anything but make them cry. But by doing just that, parents can prevent their children from going to hell. They will happily go through that ceremony. In short, even in this modern society of reason, we were still unable to throw away every trace of belief and fear. Every trace of belief and fear. You could even say that we accept certain sorts of supernatural things, though in a passive way. Maybe the only difference is that on this island, that Beatrice is the object of that worship. So in other words, if anything happens that doesn't seem explainable in human terms, it's called the work of Beatrice. I think Shannon-chan said it herself. The windows and doors are locked tightly shut would be open the next time you went to check them. Lights that should have been on went out, and lights that should have been out were on. And if I remember, even Jessica joked about saying that it was also the work of Beatrice when she couldn't find her bag in the morning. Your memory's pretty good. Normally you'd say something like little imps took them, but on this island, it's Beatrice. Well, it's all pretty stupid though. This mansion has been standing for about 30 years now, hasn't it? It's natural for things to get old and their fair share of ghost and occult stories, like the 7 mysteries at school. But that's where I'll spin the chessboard around. Huh? Simply put, on this island, there's a rule that Beatrice gets blamed for anything that couldn't have been done by humans. Things that humans can't do. How many humans are here? 18. In other words, the culprit is using the rules of this island to make it look like the witch committed the crime. This fucking chessboard shit again. Which proves that they desperately want us to think a 19th person did it. I don't like it. I don't like this theory. I don't like it one bit. What do you mean you don't like it? Let's assume the invisible 19th person exists and wants people to know that they exist. If it were me, I'd do it with even more perfect timing. What do you mean by perfect timing? Well, the crime took place sometimes between the middle of the night and dawn, right? We had some people who were talking together until the middle of the night, and some people on night shifts, and some people who'd returned to their rooms and were sleeping. Everyone's alibi is really vague, so there are plenty of room to suspect that the crime was an inside job. George Anarchy, Aunt Ava, probably told you too, right? That there's a good chance this crime was an inside job. Yes. I guess. In other words, if the invisible 19th person really exists and wants to let us know, this first crime was a complete failure. No. In the first place, they chose the wrong time of day to do it. If this invisible 19th person really wanted to show themselves, they had to make sure that the crime took place under conditions which proved that the remaining 12 people were all innocent. As long as there's a single human we can suspect, the 19th person's attempt to highlight their presence fails. That's why near midnight, when everyone's alibis are at their vaguest, the 19th person's existence is also at its vaguest. And yep, the culprit chose to commit their crime at that time. By committing the crime, then, one of the 18 would obviously be suspected, and yet someone handed Maria the letter and called themselves a witch, even though everyone denies they did it. In other words, you're trying to say one of the 18 is trying to make it look like the 19th person called Beatrice exists? That's a pretty crazy idea. I think Mom's theory about someone hiding outside the mansion is more credible. Battler, don't tell me you actually think someone's in this room with is the culprit. I do. Someone's trying to force us to accept that Beatrice exists. That's right. This whole thing started as far back as the letter last night. I don't have any basis or proof, but with the chessboard turned around, this is my best guess. Seriously, that's too crazy. You sure haven't been reading too many... Are you okay?
I'm okay, I just sneezed.
Bless you.
Rigatoni.
I thought you were doing a ho-ho-ho thing again in the middle. I'm like...
I haven't been possessed by Kumasawa yet. I'm not on TikTok pretending that I'm suddenly turned into Kumasawa and that I'm talking as her. Don't worry.
You sure haven't been reading too many weird detective novels. However, it's an angle we can't ignore. Whether there's a 19th person or not, the culprit's definitely planning something involving that rule about this island. Just now, listening to Battler-kun talk, I remembered something that's a little disturbing. Something disturbing? Yes. Do you remember? Beatrice's letter. It said that Beatrice was going to collect interest. And by interest, they mentioned everything of the Ishirmiya family. Jessica and I thought back on what Maria had read out loud the previous night. Yeah, it said that. It definitely said that. That the collection of the interest was going to take place shortly, but if the riddle of gold could be solved, she'd lose that right. Grandfather received the gold and rebuilt the Ishirmiya family. In other words, according to Beatrice, everything created using the gold as capital counts as part of the interest, which means that's a pretty scary for a joke, Anarchy. You don't mean everything of the Ishirmiya family. In other words, everything that grandfather gave birth to. In other words, everyone with grandfather's blood going through their veins. If you interpret the letter that way, these murders are Beatrice legitimately collecting interest. If that's the case, these crimes will continue. Oh! That means George technically, threatened Shannon's life in more than one way.
Oh!
Because not only did he accidentally send her into the thing, but he, proposed to her, which technically makes her, a future part of the Ishirmiya family. And as I say this, I realize Goda also got killed, so that kind of falls apart. So...
Goda, secret member of the family confirmed.
Secret? Oh my god. Because of the collection of
You know
interests...
what?
Yeah?
Oh wait, sorry. There was a taken out storyline involving Goda that wasn't included in the visual novel.
Mm.
I won't say what that was. I'll get to that at around episode 5-ish.
Oh, wonderful. If you remember.
Yeah. Goda. Surely I will remember.
Because the collection of interests is still only halfway completed. George turned around looking over at the parlor. There were still many people who held the name Ishirmiya. And because Goda-san and Shannon-chan had been killed, we knew that not even the servants were safe despite lacking the Ishirmiya name. So are they planning to kill us all? But that's weird, George Nisan. In that case, why only 6 people? They should have been able to kill a lot more. At worst, it should have been possible for them to assault everyone while they were sleeping and kill them in a single night. Why didn't they do that? The special clause. If someone manages to solve the riddle of the gold, the right to their interest will be lost. And remember how the letter ended? It challenged us to solve the riddle of grandfather's gold. Jesus! It looks like we're finally understanding the culprit's message. In other words, the culprit's telling us to try and solve the riddle of the epitaph grandfather made. On top of that, they're saying that if we just sit around here, they'll keep collecting the interest. I realize that this is all based on several guesses that are way out there, but not everyone that happens in this world fits together in a perfect line. Most events we don't understand are only individual points. By fitting them into a straight line, we're beginning to understand. Hold on. Recording. Hello, we're back. When the points are at either end of the line are really close, the line itself is more logical and easier to understand. And when those points are really far away, the opposite is true. It's the distance between these points that make us say our guesses are way out there. However, if the distances we span are too narrow, that means our thinking will be too narrow. Is there a difference between making guesses and reasoning? Am I just using easily made guesses to try and force this crime into a pattern I can understand? No, that's not it. When you're lost in the dark and searching around with your hands, what you're doing is relying on your imagination and making guesses. Only imagination can find the points that need to be tied together. Reasoning is nothing more than an act of drawing these lines between them. You can't imagine, you can't reason. If you can't imagine, you can't reason. What I'm doing right now might be way out there, but I'm sure it isn't making a mistake either. Only the power of imagination can pull out clues from the darkness, and then I can use the power of reasoning to tie these clues together. It was a lot like the process of searching out an enemy's weak point and striking. It's okay if I'm way out there. Finding a weak point first. Then we can talk about how to strike. Right now is the time to find points so we can tie it together later. Rain.
Rain, rain, go away.
For the time being, I put aside whether the 19th person existed and announced our theory that the goal of the culprit might have been to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph. Uncle Hideyoshi seemed to be extremely interested, but Aunt Nazi said it was ridiculous and dismissed it. Of course, if you think about it that way, even that letter from yesterday makes sense. That motive seems to fit pretty well with the facts. Setting aside whoever it was that gave Maria-chan that letter. It will. Beatrice exists. It will. I like thinking that she's just getting progressively more frustrated saying it.
Yeah.
Even though she was puffing up her cheeks in that cute way she'd been doing since yesterday, I couldn't think of it as cute. If I also... What's it called? Maria has a little, like, queen chess piece on the top of her head. I noticed it before, but now I'm only realizing that it's actually, like, the chess piece of a queen. If I poke fun at her, she might suddenly transform into that creepy laugh. There is no hidden god. However, if the culprit's blindly sure of its existence, then, and if they're trying to make us solve the riddle before snatching the gold away from themselves, then I will agree it makes sense. However, if that were the case, why would they start by killing those most highly ranked in the Oshimiya family? I see your point. If they wanted us to make us solve the riddle, killing those close to Kinzo-san doesn't sound like a good plan to me. That's true enough. And if we're going to go with that, that argument... Oh, fuck, what voice did I give this bitch? She's getting the Rudolph treatment now.
I think she's just kind of normal.
It was my voice just with like a on it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been quicker to threaten Father in the first place? You'd think it's faster to just ask the person who wrote it, rather than try and force us to solve it. You've got a point there. Still, I think it'd take more than your average threat to make Father spill the beans. Anyone who knows Kinzo-san well would probably realize he won't bow to ordinary threats. He's the man who bears responsibility for the Oshimiya family and all its vast wealth. He's been exposed to many threats and attacks in the past. The family only prospers today because he was able to overcome them all. That's freaking right. Even I can't imagine our grandfather obeying someone because of a threat. Jessica, what's your language? Yes, Mom. In that case, what about this idea? No, wait. Is this one also way out there? I couldn't hesitate. Out there ideas are like bows and arrows. It might be hard to hit with, but it's a great weapon because you can hit enemies from far away. They say most people who've died in battles are killed by an arrow wound. In a battle, you can't just shoot off one arrow. If you shoot a whole bunch of arrows at once, pushing forward towards the enemy troops with a wall of them, so keep shooting over and over. Create a wall as you push forwards towards the truth. If the culprit is after the hidden gold, forcing us to solve the riddle wouldn't be very efficient for them. It'd be much quicker and easier to ask the person who made it in the first place. In that case, the question is this all a message directed at Grandfather? In other words, these murders were a threat made against Grandfather. If he didn't tell the culprit where the gold was, his family members would be killed off one by one. What if we weren't the only ones being forced to solve this riddle? What if Grandfather was too? If you think about it that way, it explains Grandfather's mysterious disappearance. If the culprit has already attacked grandfather, then judging by the state of the 6 corpses were left in, he should have been left on display where somewhere within that horrible makeup added. But despite that, we still haven't found him. So, does that mean grandfather has been kidnapped and is still held somewhere? How good... You're saying how good... That sounds interesting. So, grandfather's been confined somewhere. And the culprit's saying we'll be killed off one by one if he doesn't tell them where the gold is. It pains me to imagine how you find that interesting. Aunt Nutty glared at her, but Aunt Ava just smiled calmly. Since we haven't seen him after all this time, I think it's most certain that grandfather has gotten caught up in the crime. If you think about it, you can't just ignore Batlerkin theory, right? Be quiet, George. Oh, who's speaking here? I think it might be Eva.
Oh yeah, probably.
Be quiet, George. In the first place, when did father actually disappear? Who was the last person to say father? It was probably me. This morning, when we didn't know where my husband and the rest were, we discussed the possibility of them being in father's study, and I went to check his room and greeted him there. Come to think of it, I've been holding the key to his study the whole time, haven't I? Genji, let me return this to you. Natsu pulled out the gold key and handed it to Genji. Looking at the key, Aunt Ava giggled. Hey, Genji-san. I'm sure the police will suspect father's room thoroughly. If there's anything hidden in there, it'll just be exposed anyway. So maybe it'd be better if you told us about it right there, right now. What are you talking about? It's simple. Father's study is a closed room with no way in or out except for that key, right? I want to verify whether that's true. There is one entrance to father's study. What about the window? Any other entrances or exits? There are none. There is no way to get in except the entrance. You sure about that? There's some secret hidden... There isn't some secret hidden door or anything. Since father isn't here, I am the highest ranked member of the Shirmia family. I am asking you as a representative of the Shirmia family head. Remember that when you answer me. Are there any other ways in or out of that room other than the main entrance? As father's closest aide, I'm sure you would know. Aunt Nutty looked a little offended about the part of being the highest ranked family member, but she kept her mouth closed for the time being and waited for Genji's answer. I couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable here. Why was she going on and on about hidden doors? You too, Kanon-kun, Kumasawa-san. If you know anything, why won't you tell me? If there is one, it'd be better if you said so. Otherwise, a certain person might be driven into a corner in a second. If we assume that there is a hidden door, then my argument comes to nothing. Aunt Ava didn't specify which person was about to be driven into a corner, but following the flow of the conversation, I felt that she was referring to Aunt Nutty. Mother, what are you talking about? George, stay quiet for a bit. What did you say? What do you say, Genji-san? Kanon-kun? Or Kumasawa-san? Is there a hidden door? Or not? Genji-san, when you remodeled father's study, you must have overseen construction. I won't let you say you don't know. There is nothing like that in the master's study. You sure? What about Kanon-kun? The one who's allowed to wear the one-winged eagle. That's right. I'm sure there is no such hidden door in the master's study. Kumasawa-san?
No! I haven't heard of such a thing!
What about Dr. Nanjo? You've had a close relationship with father. I've never heard of something like that. Very well then. So, are you ready? Let me begin. It's very simple. Everyone tilted their head doubtfully, wondering what Aunt Ava was starting to talk about so profoundly. Aunt Ava laughed triumphantly as though she was about to reveal a secret only she knew. Natsu-san was the last person to spot father, right? I forget the exact time, but I think it was a little before 9 in the morning. Ne-san, do you remember? I ran into you just as you were coming out of father's study, right? Yes, I remember. What does that have to do with anything? And when was the next time you went to visit father's study? That was after we found the bodies of Ne-san and the rest, right? Together with me. You went up to the study to report what we discovered and that he wasn't there. By the way, Ne-san, at the time when you went to father's study, did you notice anything? Notice anything? What are you talking about? Come on! You picked up some trash, right? A folded receipt? I do not seem to remember picking up some trash. How is that relevant? I got that receipt when I bought some candy at the store before arriving at the airport. Aunt Ava pulled a small bag of candy out of her handbag. The receipt you bought... the receipt you... from that candy you bought back there? But mother, what does this receipt have to do with anything? George, stay quiet and listen for a bit longer. Uncle Hideyoshi's expression was strict. Apparently, he understood what Aunt Ava was getting at. It really was just a whim. I definitely didn't foresee anything, or try to set up a trap for Natsu and Ne-san or anything like that. Actually, about that receipt. Ne-san, do you remember bumping into me the last time you saw father, right? At that time, I wedged this into the door of the study. So, what does that mean? Are you saying that no one opened the door until Aunt Natsu picked up that receipt? Wait a second, Aunt Ava. Wedging a receipt in the door would be obvious. It's possible that when grandfather opened the door, he noticed it, found it amusing, and stuck it back in the door. Jessica hurriedly argued back. She didn't really know what this all meant, but she realized that whatever it was would raise suspicion about her and mother. Of course, I folded the receipt very small so that no one would notice it, but even if you assume that he saw it fall, he would have no way of knowing how high up the door it had been stuck, right? I checked it while Ne-san was taking the key out. The receipt was stuck not 1 millimeter away from where I put it. I can't understand why you put such a childish prank. I'll bet you're the one who did that prank on the door to my room too. The door to your room? It was unpleasant to talk about, so I never mentioned it. But when I woke up this morning, there were some signs of prank outside of my door, with what possibly the same red paint that was scribbled across the shutter. There was some unpleasant marks, as though someone had been tearing at the door. Wait, what's this? Why'd you keep quiet about this until now? My apologies. Since so many other things have occurred since then, I completely forgot about it until this moment. I don't know anything about that, but I'm not talking about your door. This is the door to father's room, right? Between the time you confirmed that he was in his room and the time we were confirmed that he wasn't, the door wasn't even opened once. How did father get out if he didn't use the door? I don't know that. That's why I want to know! Natsu-san, other than you, who else checked to see when father was in his room? Last night I checked. Last night, the last time I met Kinzo-san was when we were playing chess. So I was with him just until before dinner. Who saw him after that? I did. I gave him his dinner last night. Yes, Shana and I were with him. So, at that time, father was still definitely in his room. However, Natsu-san, when you found out he wasn't there, it looks like all ways in or out of study were closed, right? But, even so, you met with him this morning. I don't understand why everyone has become so gloomy. Could someone please explain it to me? Father, mother, are you saying that what Natsu says about meeting grandfather this morning was A lie? Like hell she lied about that. Mom's guiltless. Why would she just lie? Jessica, I keep telling you to watch your language. All at once, the whole room was in an uproar. Aunt Ava and Aunt Natahi confronted each other across the parlor table, with George confronting Jessica. What the heck's going on? Many people spotted him last night. Right? But since this morning, only one person who claims to have seen father is Natahi Nesan. And then there's that strange fact we learned from my receipt. So, how can we connect these points together? Aunt Ava urged everyone to imagine it. Sure, that receipt could have become an important point, but I didn't know which other points to tie it to or how. If we try searching for answers Aunt Ava probably wants, we'll find that Aunt Natahi lied and acted as though Grandfather was in his room this morning. Has that fact been exposed by a whim of Aunt Ava's? I don't get it at all. Why would Mom have to lie? There's no reason to lie, right? That's what I want to know. But, Jessica-chan, I can't be sure she has no reason to lie and say that Grandfather was in the room. After all, you see it in mystery novels every now and then. That trick where people fake the time of death to create an alibi for themselves. What are you talking about? I'd never heard of that. We still haven't found Father yet, but it's pretty natural to assume he's already been killed. If that's true, I doubt we'll find his corpse soon. If at that point the time of death could cleverly be faked, Natahi Nesan would be able to create an alibi. Do you understand? Everyone? This morning, when Aunt Natahi confirmed that Grandfather was there, she lied. And he was already dead at the time. And then she moved the body to some other location and tampered with it so that when we find it, we'll think he was killed just a second ago. That'd make it impossible for her to create an alibi, even just by staying with the rest of us. Then she could say, I heard someone screaming, dash over there, and become the first to find the body along with everyone else. Is that what Aunt Ava's saying? Ridiculous. After all, detective novels are merely books for the purpose of entertainment. You can't only think of such indiscreet idea because you read them all the time. That's right. Even if she did try to fake the time of death a little, all that would be blown away in an instant once the police did their autopsy. That might have worked in the past, but do you really think that trick would work in modern Japan? It doesn't make sense. You think so? This morning when Dr. Nanjo looked at the corpses, he was only able to give a vague estimate of the time of death. Right? Autopsy results are very easily affected by the environment and individual differences. It's a very relative estimate with the uncertainty of several hours. And unfortunately, the police's scientific investigation will have to wait until tomorrow. It would be easy to measure the correct time of death so accurately, even in modern Japan. Isn't that right, Dr. Nanjo? Examining a corpse is an extremely difficult task that requires both experience and instinct. I have heard that there is a very high chance of a mistaken diagnosis. I imagine it's very possible for a misreading of just a few hours to occur. However, for an alibi, that's more than enough. It's an old trick. It's a trick that works well enough. Natahi Nesan. It's not like we want to suspect you, okay? We just want you to prove your innocence so we don't have to suspect you. Whoa, she picked up the gun! Actually, I need to see what this looks like in the original images.
Oh.
I think
Oh,
it's...
she's got that ombre.
Oh, it is more ombre here, where it is just sort of like a purple.
Purple. You gotta cosplay her though.
Yes, yes.
I feel like we've got at least 2 or 3 Umineko cosplans that we have to do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got to be these middle-aged women, Brooklyn. We've got to.
Yes. What is this innocence you want me to prove? This morning I definitely met with father, and he told me to keep the one-winged eagle. He told me to keep the one-winged eagle engraved in my heart. Are you denying that he said so? I will certainly not permit that. I won't let you deny that father said those words. Or maybe father's body won't appear anywhere. Normally, a person would be missing for 7 years before they're officially dead. Wouldn't that be a clever way to extend father's nearly finished life another 7 years and keep all as well for yourself? Oh! I can't let you get away with saying that. I can't let you get away with saying anymore. I am Ushiomiya Natsuhi. Although I do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle on my body, it is certainly engraved on my heart. Heart? On my heart. What do you think you're saying? To the wife of Klaus, the successor of the head, and the one who will act as such in his place. What's this? Are you going to shoot me with that gun? Go ahead. If only you just shoot. You're just desperate because you can't think of a way out, right? Do it. Just try to obscure the truth with your violence. You. It wasn't like Natsuhi had been actually holding that gun at the ready and threatening anyone. But as she was egged on by Aunt Ava, she did hold it at the ready. Unsurprisingly, once things got to this stage, Jessica and Genji-chan tried to stop her. Madame, please, calm yourself. Mom, you aren't lying. There's no reason for you to listen to this. Calm down, Natsuhi-san. All you've got to do is swear that father was definitely in that room. Why are you getting so worked up? That's correct. Natsuhi isn't lying. So that should be the end of it. Then I want you to explain how did father manage to disappear from that room. The window was closed tight from the inside. The same is true for the door, right? This morning, if you really met with father, then you must explain how father disappeared from his unopenable door, closed room scenario. If you don't, that means you're lying after all, right? How far do you plan to mock me? If you want to argue back, go ahead. That's right. Try explaining it right here, right now. If you do, I'll apologize for suspecting you. How did father manage to get out from that closed door? I cannot explain. There's no need for me to do so. Really? Then let me explain it. Let's take the best parts from my perspective and yours and come up with a more friendly explanation. I'll believe what you said about father still being in his room this morning. However, next time the door was opened, father wasn't there. You don't have any objections so far, right? I have no desire to hear any more of what you have to say. Shut your frivolous mouth. My reasoning goes like this, okay? I can confirm that on both occasions, you were the only one to go through that door. And the receipt proves it. So, what's the answer to the puzzle is how father left the room. The window! He was sent out the window. Natsuhi-san, you threw father out of the third-story window of the study into the courtyard. You! Madam, please endure it. Come on. Kumasawa. Kumasawa. Kumasawa!
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I was muted. I was looking at something on Twitter. I'm so sorry. Ava, someone, please stop this!
After that, when you left and said that you were going to check the doors and the windows, you took father's corpse, which had fallen in the courtyard, and hid it. That was probably when you took some measures to fake the time of death, right? This ties in with the case regarding Kraus Nissan and the rest, and also case regarding Beatrice last night. There's a really good chance we've got a reason to suspect Natsuhi Nissan in all those cases. Normally, I wouldn't want to say this, but now that's out in the open, there's nothing else I can do. Please, Natsuhi Nissan, explain how you can be innocent. Otherwise, I can't help but suspect you. Why me? Why must I, Ushiomiya Natsuhi, be insulted like this? Looks like we've got everyone's views on record now. It's useless. It's all useless, Aunt Ava. What do you mean useless? Jessica looked up at me, hanging onto every word. Aunt Ava's expression was confident as ever. Useless, you say? What is? Butler-kun? Tell me. You're only convinced it was Aunt Nutty because you're only looking at the case from a single angle. It's not like I'm defending her, but that bluff of a checkmate isn't going to fly. I think your reasoning regarding that receipt was passable. It's not a bad thread of logic, but I'd only give it about a grade of 65 at best. If there was an exam, that'd be bad enough to get you extra lessons in detention, right? Oh my. Well, how do you think anyone can break through that door sealed by my receipt and make father disappear? Other than by my theory. It's true that your theory is an interesting one. And if you could say for sure that there was no way to make grandfather disappear, then you probably would be able to prove that the last person to see him, Nutty, was guilty. However, I feel like I'm watching Ace Attorney right now. However, since there's still a possibility she's innocent and these accusations are false, we can't be sure about that. Then, Butler-kun, are you saying someone else other than Natsuhi Near-san made grandfather disappear? It'd be impossible for anyone else to do it. My receipt proved that, right? After the first time she visited that study, and until the second time, when we visited together, the study was the perfect closed room. And that's when the seal was broken, not on the closed room, he was already missing. If that doesn't prove that she is the culprit, what kind of trick could they have used? Like I said, Aunt Ava, that's only 65 points. So I'll try spinning the chessboard around, shall we? Oh my god! Can this man stop spinning the chessboard around?
He's obsessed!
The question isn't how someone managed to make grandfather disappear from the outside. We should think about how grandfather disappeared from the inside. The door had the receipt stuck in it, so it couldn't have been used. He couldn't have gone through the window because you can lock it from the outside, and when Aunt Ava visited the study, she checked to make sure it was locked. So the window wasn't used. At that point, the study really was a closed room. We have to accept this. However, the study didn't remain a closed room forever. Once the seal created by the seat was removed, it would be possible for someone to escape the door. In other words, the question isn't how Natsuhi made grandfather disappear. We need to think about how he was able to escape. Grandfather's study isn't an ordinary study, right? According to Genji-san, there's a toilet and a kitchen and even a bedroom, almost like a little house. For example, what if he was hiding under the bed and so the two of you only thought he was missing? Aunt Ava didn't even check that far, right? And the two of you even went back down the stairs thinking he wasn't there. At that time, the receipt was already gone. In other words, if grandfather was hiding in his room the whole time, it was a closed room, and escaped after letting the two of you go past him, we can crack this closed case right open. What are you talking about? Why would father need to escape the room in such a bizarre fashion? Don't be so absurd. Yeah, it might be absurd. However, it still shows that there's a possibility Aunt Natsuhi is being falsely accused. Your receipt wasn't perfect. In chess, we might call that a check. But it isn't checkmate. But the thing that really pisses me off is how you're pressuring Aunt Natsuhi to explain it, then claiming that she must be guilty if she doesn't. If you want to go down that road, why don't you let me? You're shaming a battler, spin the chessboard around one more time. Aunt Ava, according to your own argument, you must explain to us why you, Uncle Hideyoshi, couldn't have killed those 6 people last night, then casually returned to the guest house. You've been trying to force Aunt Natsuhi to explain, so I'm sure you can prove your own innocence, right? Especially now that all of grandfather's wealth has suddenly plopped down right into your hands. That's right, you're suspicious enough, aren't you? If you say Mom's suspicious because she was the last person to see him, then what about you, Aunt Ava, the last person to see Dad and the rest? Just like Battler said, prove that you two weren't the ones who killed them. Mother, I also want to know your reasoning. It was a little overeager. I'm sure the receipt was an important hint. But like Butler-kun said, that's not enough to prove that Aunt Nazi was responsible for some plot. We're all equally suspicious. It's not right for only Aunt Nazi to be prosecuted. Our father crawling under his bed? You call nonsense like that an explanation? In that case, why don't you explain first? Who killed those 6 and how, and then try showing us proof that you weren't involved.
Oh, what? Did Kumasawa show up?
No,
Oh.
Milady, Jessica suddenly started coughing. Jessica's fucking dying. At first I thought she was...
no!
I thought she was just choking after yelling too loud, but before I realized how painful it looked, Jessica kept coughing, choking down on her hands and knees. Jessica, henginzel. Dr. Nanjo. Jessica-san, your inhaler, quickly. No, wait, I have one on me with me. Dr. Nanjo pulled a bronchodilator inhaler. Bronchodilator? Inhaler from his own bag.
Bronchodilator or something.
Which was lying on the sofa, and handed it to Jessica. Come to think of it, 6 years ago, didn't Jessica sometimes break into violent coughing fits and have to use that? However, 6 years ago, I never saw Jessica look like she was in this much pain. Aniki, was Jessica's asthma always this bad? It's gotten worse this last few years. It's no problem when she's normal, but when an attack comes suddenly, she can't stop coughing anymore. Cough, 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 cough. Milady, your medicine. Here. Taking the inhaler from Kanon-kun, Jessica used it with a practiced hand. It looked like her throat would itch for a while, but she had it under control. Are you okay, Jessica? You scared me. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Beads of sweat covered Jessica's whole body, and she couldn't hide her rough breathing, but it looked like her sudden attack had calmed down for now. This disturbance had made a dangerous atmosphere up until now seem slightly unfocused. But it's fine. The kind of battle of mutual suspicion is completely unnecessary. When you think about it, finding alibis for each other and looking for the culprit is probably meaningless. After all, we're just powerless ordinary people. And when the police come tomorrow, they'll definitely employ cutting-edge techniques and investigate the case thoroughly, solving all the riddles and arresting the culprit. Perhaps Butler-kun is right after all. Just as Natsu-ne-san is suspicious, I can't ignore the fact that I'm suspicious too. Arguing about that now will surely be unproductive. Everything will be fine, if we just leave it for the police tomorrow. But, don't you want to know too, Butler-kun? Who the culprit is? Don't you want to let them know the pain you feel from losing someone so precious to you as soon as possible? I won't deny that. Even one day would be too long to let this wonderful bastard who's behind this go. But that doesn't mean I want to suspect one of the 18. Even though I said earlier I don't even want to suspect you, Aunt Ava. To me, you're an awesome aunt who's always fun and playful. I don't want to trade insults with an aunt like that. I wouldn't want to do that with anyone here, right? Everyone?
Minasan?
Minasan? I feel the same way as Butler. It's pointless to trade insults. It's probably the stress build up because too many people have been crammed in one place since this morning. Probably. It's only natural. It may not be my place to say, but I think we should all relax as much as possible. Ava, I think we'll better cool our heads too. The receipt's definitely a big clue for figuring out Father's disappeared, but we should tell the police about it when the time comes. That's right. Right. I just feel a little triumphant when I figured out that part with the receipt. Of course, it isn't too fair to only suspect Natsu-ne-san, right? We're just as suspicious. But still, Butler-kun? And at least the part about the receipt is real, okay? Don't forget it. And try thinking deeply about what it means one more time, okay? Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi stood up. It looks like they planned on leaving the parlor. In the end, it's pointless for us to keep playing detectives. After all, the police will reveal everything anyway. That's right. Even if we don't play this detective game, the typhoon will pass. And when those lively seagulls return to the harbour, everything will settle itself. That's right.
The Umineko.
The Umineko. If you think about it, this kind of crime is completely trivial. It will best be resolved, even if we do nothing. When the seagulls cry. Ooh! They said the thing!
I said it!
Nasine-san, I take it you don't want to see my face anymore? I feel the same! If I remember correctly, yesterday you had some rooms prepared for us in the mansion so that we wouldn't need to go back to the guest house, right? Those should each have a bath and a toilet, as well as a lock and a chain to secure the door. There's even a bed to lie on. My husband will be able to watch TV without having to fight with Maria-chan over which channel to watch, right? Why is the TV still working? Do whatever you want, but make sure to be cautious. Thank you, Nissan. Nessa. And my... what's it called? I wouldn't put it past Ava to call Natsuki Nissan instead of Nessan. And mind your own business. I'll be counting on you to keep an eye on everyone, okay? Because the culprit is definitely here. And Nessan, make sure you don't forget to keep an eye on yourself too. Have you finished taking your putting shots? Yes, I'm finished. See you, Natsuki Nessan.
Toodles!
Toodles! Genji, let us know when it's time for dinner. Until then, we'll lock ourselves with the chain. Kinky. Genji, Kanon, escort him to the guest house. Or guest room. We'll be fine. I hate shady escorts. In fact, I don't know who's talking here. I'll just say it's Hideyoshi. In fact, I'd be more comfortable if nobody leaves the room until we reach ours. Let's go, George. I'll stay here with everyone. George! The culprit is in this room. Do you plan on staying in a place like this? Leaving this room would be the same as suspecting one of my relatives. I can't believe anyone in our family is capable of something that horrible. George. Darling, you tell him too.
Darling.
George is already an adult man. If his code tells him not to leave this room, then it's up to him. Let him do what he wants. Father. Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi left. The only voice that called after them was the sound of the rain. The parlor was being buried beneath the savage atmosphere. When I looked at the clock, I was surprised to find that it was already evening. God damn!
Crack.
Had we already spent that much time worrying about the needless things and talking with each other, fighting with each other? Feeling bored, I started scratching my head when Maria and I made contact. I was a little surprised since I thought she was completely immersed in the TV. I believe it now. Ewe? The letter, the murders, everything. It was all Beatrice. In fact, I almost feel like begging her to come out and take credit for it all. I want it to be the work of a 19th person. Otherwise, the 18 of us will have to keep suspecting each other. I think believing in a 19th person is better than that. Bringing grandfather outside without opening the doors or windows must be a piece of cake for Beatrice, right? Maria, after taking a single short breath, hung her head and raised her face again. That's right! Locking the doors is useless against a witch. Beatrice is familiar with 72 demons. The 33rd ranked gap. The 33rd ranked gap.
Side one.
Huh?
Nothing.
gives the power to instantly carry the desired person to any location. To her, taking a person out of any closed room isn't all that hard, you see. Kihihi. Witches sure are incredible. Tell her if she feels like committing another crime, to do it in a way that no human could. And make me believe that a 19th person, no, a witch, exists. Hihihi, I need to see what these original images look like. Okay. It's just, for some reason his eyebrow is all the way up here in his forehead. Hihi. Okay. If I meet her, I'll tell her. Crack.
Crack?
Crap. Nothing's made sense for me for a while now. Just when I believe in the 19th person, I deny it. And when I just want to believe there are only 18 people, I deny that too. Even though I want there to be more than just 18 people, I can't accept the existence of that 19th person. In short, even though there are more than 18 people, there are less than 19 people. The number of people in this mansion is below 19 but above 18. So the number of people can't be represented by an integer. However, it's impossible for there to be anything after that decimal point. You shouldn't be able to show the number of people with anything else but an integer. And yet, below 19 and above 18. Maths. You know what's funny? I was literally just editing the episode where I'm talking about maths, and Leisha keeps going, why are you watching maths? How could you explain that fraction less than 1? It's no wonder. The 19th person was something that couldn't be seen. That's why, since only you can write the number of the person as an integer, you couldn't see that person. That witch cannot be seen, because Beatrice has no body. Therefore, she is invisible. Is there a 19th person or not? Does this witch exist or not? 19. Below 19, above 18. The witch exists somewhere in that X. Finally! Okay.
That was actually an hour as well.
It was... it's almost 2 hours. It's an hour 46, which is about the same as the last episode.
I just know it was about it. It's like exactly an hour since your last like. We'll go for another hour. All right, but what are you thinking at the moment?
I'm thinking I should save right now.
So, are you thinking there is 18 people or a 19th person? What are you thinking?
Well, it's kind of obvious that Beatrice exists, since there is player models of Beatrice. But what's it called?
I will add though, if you are really perceptive, you can solve the murder in just the first chapter of the game. It's really hard though. But it is possible. Apparently some people did that. And all I'll say is that I was very stupid when I first read it.
Because, well, thought process wise, it's either Kinzel going mad. I think Marie is too small for it to be her, but I feel like it's like, how else would she know, you know? But also definitely too small to be her. What's it called? I doubt it's Natahi.
As who you think is Beatrice or the culprit in general?
The culprit in general. See, obviously Eva and Hideyoshi are the ones with the most suspicion on them right now. But yeah, I don't know. It could be that like maybe it's Battler and it's just like a what's it called? Unreliable narrator. Or it could be Jessica, because Jessica is like the one who looks the most like Beatrice, but I don't know. I don't know. But I think that's where I'm gonna end it off for today. Georgifer Coolidge was certainly an interesting experience.
Georgifer Coolidge.
And first episode with no Rudolph. Thank Christ.
Oh,
But that's because Georgifer Coolidge appeared.
There's no Rudolph.
Yeah, no wonder. That's why I drew you with such a happy face to see Rudolph in the last episode.
I
We've broken the Rudolph streak.
happy Brooklyn. I think that's like I looked like a gremlin is all I can say.
Yes, the purpose is you're supposed to look as feral as physically possible.
Oh, okay, I see.
Whereas I literally wrote you saying Rudolph Summer. No, the only people who call Rudolph Summer is like Kumasawa and all of that.
Yes.
So yeah, and now I get to make Georgifer Coolidge. Let's see if Georgifer Coolidge appears in the next episode. Because he's more likely to than what's it called? Than
Rudolph.
Rudolph, yeah. But the one thing I'm trying to think back on is what the actual what's it called? The epitaph said, because it's annoying me that they're not going and reading the fucking epitaph.
Did you want me to pull that up and read that to you now?
Because I can only assume that the lovers that are getting killed next is like either Eva or Hideyoshi. I think for the drama it'd be Hideyoshi because.
Alright, I'll go through the twilights.
Yeah.
On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the 5th twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. On the 10th twilight, at the journey's end, you shall attain the power of the Golden Land's treasures once and for the last time.
So the 2 who are close surely is Natsuhi and not Natsuhi. It's surely Hideyoshi and Eva. Because they're the closest 2 in the gang at the moment. Maybe Jessica and Kanon, because Kanon was the first one to run to Jessica, but surely gouge the chest is Jessica because she's got asthma.
Oh, Jessica.
Because that seems like the most obvious. Why would you bring up that Jessica has asthma if that's not the case?
I know who's left after all the gouging, but I forgot which are exactly for which of the gouging.
Because it's gouge the head, gouge the chest, gouge the knee. So gouge the head. Well, that'd be either Eva or Natsuhi, because I assume Eva, Natsuhi, or Kinzo, because that means the head of the Ishimiya family. If Kinzo is dead by that point, it means that it's probably Eva or Natsuhi, because they keep fighting about who's the head of the family. By bloodline, it turns to Eva, but by the fact that Natsuhi married in and that Kinzo said by heart you are the you have the bloodline within you. I would assume that means that technically it could also be Natsuhi, so I assume gouge the head is Kinzo, Eva, or Natsuhi. Gouge the chest has to be Jessica because of asthma. Gouge the knee, that one is the one that's sort of getting me right now. Because who would the
Hold
knee
on,
be?
let me look up. So Umineko deaths. I'm not gonna read this out loud, but I'm kind of curious.
Mm.
Let's go. Let's have a look. So,
I don't think there's enough.
episode 1.
I don't think there's enough for me to hear who the knee is right now, unless it's like who takes a knee.
Oh wait, so who did you say for head, chest,
So head was either Natsuhi, Eva, or Kinzo. Part of me doubts it'll be Kinzo, but what's it called? It sounds like the most likely, but definitely Kinzo, Eva, or Kinzo. Sorry, Kinzo, Eva, or Natsuhi. Then chest to me has to be Jessica because of asthma. Then the knee is the one that's tripping me up. Ironic. Because that is like the only thing I can think of is someone who takes a knee. So maybe George, because he proposed, but he didn't really propose in the right way. So
yeah.
that's all I can think of in that front, unless like there's more that I'm missing after this point, which obviously I am. But what's it called? None of that seems like Maria. You said so the first Twilight people you trust each other get torn apart. That has to be Hideyoshi and Eva.
So yeah, gouge the head, gouge the chest, gouge the stomach, gouge the knee, and gouge the leg.
So hold on. So the
head, chest, stomach, knee,
chest,
leg,
stomach, knee, leg. Okay. So head to me again has to be Kinzo, Eva, or what's it called? Natsuhi. The couple has to be to me Hideyoshi and Eva. So to me, the next couple of people who die is definitely Hideyoshi and Eva. Chest to me is Jessica. The only other person that's coming to mind is Kumasawa. Oh wait. No. Yes.
Yeah, you're forgetting the what's it called? The servants.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Rosa gave something to Kumasawa. And I think it was tea to help with a cough. So I'm going to write down Kumasawa for that as well. And now that I think about it, it could be ailments. Because Natsuhi gets headaches. Jessica has asthma. Then we've got stomach, knee, and leg. Kumasawa-san could be literally all of them. So I definitely...
At that age.
Yeah, I think Kumasawa definitely is one of them.
Remember, there's another 2 old people.
Yes, but...
still alive.
But, so, knee, I fear, has to be George, Genji, or Kanon. Because usually doing something like that, taking a knee or like kneeling down, is something out of respect. I know that's more of a Western thing than an Eastern thing in terms of like bowing. If you're being really respectful to someone, you like kneel down in front of them or some shit like that. Like in it, like when you watch people being knighted and stuff, they're kneeling down. That's my thought process for like Genji and Kanon, and since Kinzo is really into like Western stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Like not knighting, but somewhere along the line where they're actually physically kneeling down.
Also, I'm just looking at the future deaths as well. It's like, oh, Brooklyn, you're gonna think this is so interesting.
I reckon leg might be Kumasawa. Stomach. Who would stomach be? The only thing I could think there is if someone is pregnant.
Oh.
But the only people who I can register possibly being pregnant would be Jessica.
No. Better than the other option.
Huh?
Better than the other option, which would be Shannon.
Yeah, no. My thought process is Jessica, Natsuhi, or Ava. But if I'm convinced that Natsuhi or Ava have died in the previous 3 nights and think that Jessica has died from the chest thing, then I don't know whose stomach would be.
Wait, are you writing this down?
Yes, physically.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm giving like 3 or 4 different options per night. Because I don't think they'd kill off Battler that early. Maria, to me, has... What's it called? Has narrative immunity. Because she keeps saying...
So there's 4 who do, like... survive past the gouging. You might as well just take a guess at who those 4 would be.
I'm just gonna write stomachache for Nanjo. I don't know, I haven't put him down. The 4 who I think would survive would be Battler, definitely Maria, potentially Kanon, because I don't actually see a reason why he should necessarily die. Especially because they're kind of hyping him up to be a decently important character. I would like to say Jessica. I think it would be Jessica or George. I don't see both of them going to the end. I see one of them dying. But,
well, I won't spoil what happens after the gouging, but... Like, who makes it past the gouging?
Or George. So, yeah. Currently, I've written down, for the couple, it's Hideyoshi or Eva. If it is... Hideyoshi that dies, that makes sense. The head has to either be Kinzo, Eva, or Natsuhi. I reckon it's most likely that Kinzo or Natsuhi, because Natsuhi with that with the headache thing. Gouge the chest to me sounds like Shizuka or Kumasawa, because I think both of them have ailments with coughing. Stomach, I've only written down Nanjo because I have literally no fucking clue. Maybe Kinzo, because Kinzo is still up in the air. With the knee, to me, it's George, Genji, or Kanon. And then for the leg, it's Kumasawa or Nanjo, because they said something about Kumasawa being slow. I cannot think of any other reason. Definitely, I think in this section, George or Jessica would die. I think Battler and Maria have an immunity. Kanon, I really think it could be either. And I think the 4th person would be Jessica or George.
Interesting.
Because there's other...
Wikipedia.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm just going through all the deaths while you talk about this on Wikipedia.
So, I'm very... And this is just episode 1, yeah?
Yeah, that's just episode 1.
Yeah. So, yeah, I reckon that's my thought process for it at the moment. Okay, well, I think truly that will be... will be all for the,
She's saving again.
Yeah, I just have to be sure, you know?
Yeah.
That'll be all for this episode, and we continue on next week with more Umineko Monday. Slay!
Yay!
Okay, bye.